Gavel this into order. The committee will come to order. Good morning and welcome to the Interior Environment Fiscal Year 2019 Member Day hearing. Gives Member Day a new meaning here. This morning, the subcommittee will hear from members, actually one member, about a variety of issues addressed by the subcommittee. Our witness will be provided with up to 5 minutes to present his testimony. Given the busy day today, several members were unable to join us today. It's my understanding they're going to be submitting written testimony for the subcommittee to review. So before I get underway, I'd like to yield to my good friend, Ms. McCollum, for any remarks she would like to make.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and I'm glad we have this opportunity to hear from members, whether in person, as Mr. Thompson is, or in writing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And with that, Representative Thompson, you may proceed with your testimony.
Well, Chairman Calvert, Ranking Member McCollum, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to, thank you for the, first of all, the opportunity to submit input into the appropriations process with the subcommittee, and thank you for the opportunity to come here today and just share personally to highlight some of those requests that I put forward. As a member of the Natural Resource Committee and Vice Chair of the Agriculture Committee, I appreciate the opportunity to provide testimony on funding decisions made on this important subcommittee. By way of background, my district makes up roughly 24% of the landmass of Pennsylvania, is among the most rural districts east of the Mississippi River. Agriculture, oil and gas production, manufacturing, mining, timbering, and recreation are among our top economic drivers throughout the region. The region is also home to the world's first commercial oil well, Drake Well, in Titusville, Pennsylvania, near one of my district offices, and the birthplace of the petroleum industry. And due to the historic oil region, due to this history, the Oil Region National Heritage Area, as recognized by the National Park Service, was established in 2004. With this in mind, I'd like to first express my great support for heritage areas. It is important that we continue to recognize the history of these areas that directly shaped our nation and built our communities. Northwestern Pennsylvania is also home to the Commonwealth's only national forest. 4 of my counties make up the Allegheny National Forest, where we have had energy production since Colonel Drake, high-value timbering, and recreation. And as this subcommittee knows well, wildfire costs have skyrocketed in the past 2 decades, burning up 6.7 million acres per year on the average since the year 2000. And with the Forest Service spending some $2.4 billion in 2017 last year, which was the costliest fire season on record. In addition to the significant challenges of firefighting itself, national forests around the nation continue to have great difficulties performing essential activities due to budget cuts as a result of fire transfers. Now, that being said, I appreciate the committee's support for a fire fix and additional management authorities that were contained in the recent FY18 omnibus. Like many national forest regions in the West, the lack of timbering in the Allegheny directly undermines our local economy, as well as my 4 counties and school districts that lose out on funding for essential services. Now, we can increase our timber output, but that won't happen without the necessary funding or direction from Congress. In order to support management activities, and especially timbering in national forests, I request full funding for the National Forest System, as well as for the forest products and timber sales, capital improvements and maintenance, and forest roads. Also, again, request that the committee include report language calling for the Forest Service to specifically meet each forest plan's harvesting levels. Necessary funding for such management activities, including timbering and thinnings, is essential for forest health and in order to keep and to help prevent wildfires, as well as to deal with, actually helps us deal and stay ahead of invasive species. The Forest Service is doing important work to research invasive species, diseases, and forest health as well, and I've seen this great work firsthand in my district. This work is fundamental in helping to deal with existing forest health problems and anticipating emerging ones before they exacerbate. Therefore, I request much needed funding for Forest Service research activities, specifically for forest and rangeland research, as well as state and private forestry. I would like to register my support for the Payments in Lieu of Taxes program. This program provides necessary services to counties with tax-exempt federal lands by directly offsetting lost tax revenue, and I fully support this program. Respectfully request that the subcommittee do the same. And finally, I'd like to express my support for the Abandoned Mine Land Reclamation Fund pilot program. Abandoned mine lands have caused considerable environmental challenges, left significant scars throughout the Appalachia for generations. And while we've made significant strides in restoring these lands since 1977, much work needs to be done. The Office of Surface Mining estimates that unfunded liabilities of abandoned mine land across the nation is at least $10 billion, with more than half of these needs in Pennsylvania, and a significant amount of that concentrated in my congressional district. To supplement current AML funding, Congress has appropriated additional funds in the past to help states with the most severe needs. I respectfully request the subcommittee continue this support and fully fund the Abandoned Mine Reclamation Fund pilot program, along with efforts to reclaim our historic abandoned mine lands. Thank you again for the opportunity to provide testimony to the committee, and I look forward to working with you as the appropriations process continues to move forward for fiscal year 2019.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming out here to give us your testimony. Certainly share many of your views, and as we move this process forward, look forward to working with you and dealing with this budget process. We're going to be, I think, moving quickly on our appropriation process, hopefully to regular order, so we'll see how it goes. Ms. McCullum.
Mr. Chair, I appreciated your comments on payment in lieu of taxes. Minnesota has a lot of the same resources that you were talking about. The payment in lieu of taxes now comes directly out of our budget. It didn't in the past, and because of that, we're short on many of the dollars that you spoke to. Could you, when you talked about invasive species, could you maybe, this is something that we're working on, trying to keep a handle on. Some of it's caused by climate change, some of it's just caused by hitchhikers coming through. What are some of the invasive species that your forest is seeing?
Sure. And first of all, I kind of start out with my request. I should have just said thank you also for all of your support in the past on these issues. This subcommittee's been wonderful, and so it's much appreciated. Yeah, invasive species is something it's one of those things when you come to Congress you never thought you'd really get to be an expert on. But I chaired the Forestry Subcommittee in Forestry, Conservation, Soils, Waters, and Agriculture for 6 years before I became the Vice Chair of Ag and Chair of the Nutrition Subcommittee this term. It's a moving target, and that's the problem. I think as we approach invasive species, we have to deal with the current problem, but we have to be prepared for what the next threat is. Because let me share with you the current threat, at least for eastern United States. I don't know how far this thing will get. It largely comes as hitchhikers. I think it comes in through our ports. It comes in shipping crates. It comes. That's largely what occurs, and the most recent one is called the spotted lanternfly. It is the most beautiful butterfly you will ever want to see, and it's the most heinous bug you'd ever want to be around because it attacks and will devastate grapes, apple orchards, pears, all fruits, hardwoods. This one bug has the ability to really transform, to really attack vital industry. Certainly in my congressional district in Pennsylvania, and I think a lot of the country. This is a bug that was insect that was seen for the first time in one county down around Philadelphia, and now it's in 14 counties. The USDA, I'm pleased to say, because of the support that you all have provided on battling invasive species, has had the ability to pivot. They've had that flexibility to respond, and they have done that. There's a little bit of controversy. I feel like I need to wear a referee shirt sometimes, refereeing between USDA and the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture, and just on strategy. But it's all good people wanting to do the right thing, whether you start on the perimeter and push in, or whether you start at the heart and extinguish and move out. I actually think both are probably pretty good ideas. And but those are that's just the most recent example. Other invasives, the woolly adelgid, and just show you how well somebody can grow. For the first year, I couldn't even pronounce that name. Every time I said it somewhat different. And it attacks our hemlocks. That's our state tree. It also is a tree that controls the temperature along our streams. And we have 92,000 miles of waterways in Pennsylvania, and we have some tremendous trout fishing. It's a big part of our tourism, is our trout fishing. And if the woolly adelgid is allowed to decimate the hemlocks, that will warm the waters, and trout trout species will be really challenged. Of course, we've had the gypsy moth. We have a tremendous amount of, and this is another U.S. Forest Service, but also private forest lands. We have obviously more private forest lands than we do U.S. forests or state forests, but the emerald ash borer. One of the things I would like to see is to empower the Forest Service, and everyone needs to do this, but in the Forest Service, we have a lot of standing dead ash. And I know in different parts of the country, in the West, it's different species that stand, and it's a shame. That's an asset that has some value, and to be able to to get that to market, to find where the markets are, and is incredibly important. So where the West, in the West, we're concerned about just significant wildfires, devastating wildfires. Our eastern forests, our devastation comes more from invasive species. Not that we don't have fires, we just don't have them to that degree and that intensity. In fact, somebody once referred to Pennsylvania forests as asbestos forests, because of the moisture that we do have and the streams that are there. But both are devastating to the economy, especially for those communities that are situated around those forests.
Right. Thank you. Mike? Well, thank you very much, Glenn, for coming in today, and look forward to working with you as we move this process forward.
Look forward to it, Chairman. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
This meeting's adjourned.